Hello, Darjana 8th graders, and welcome into a new virtual biology lesson. How are you doing today? Hopefully you are breathing well. By the way, why do we need to breathe? You may say to stay alive or to get oxygen. And you're right, we need oxygen to stay alive, but why do we need oxygen? As you think about it, keep in mind that whether you want to play that video game or record a TikTok video, or maybe doing something more important like studying biology or helping your mom, you need energy. Actually, cells need energy to stay alive and do any other function. Now, how do cells get energy? Remember our old friend, cellular respiration from the first semester? As you know, in cellular respiration, your body is going to use glucose. Glucose will react with oxygen in order to obtain energy. As byproducts, cells gonna release carbon dioxide and water vapor. So as we learned, the digestive system is gonna break down the carbohydrates in the food into glucose, and then this glucose is absorbed by the blood and carried to all body cells. How about the other substance needed for cellular respiration? Oxygen. The system that we are going to study today is the system that provides body with oxygen. So our system for today, is respiratory system. So take a deep breath and let's start. I said take a deep breath, did you? Let's do it together. Inhale, take air in. Exhale. So what you are doing right now is that you are breathing, right? So if I want to define breathing, breathing would be the movement of the air into and out of the lungs. So when you breathe in, you are going to take air that is rich with oxygen, right? And this is the first function of the respiratory system. It is taking in oxygen. As we said, oxygen is important for cellular respiration. And I really need to point out an important note here, which is the difference between cellular respiration and breathing. They are not the same thing. Cellular respiration happens at every cell in your body. It's a chemical reaction at which cells are going to use oxygen and sugar in order to produce ATP, which is energy molecule. So it's a chemical reaction between oxygen and sugar to produce energy. As I said, byproducts, we have carbon dioxide and water. That's the cellular respiration that happens in every living cells in the body. While breathing is a physical process in which the air comes in when you breathe in and goes out when you exhale, eliminating carbon dioxide. And this is the second function of your respiratory system, which is eliminating carbon dioxide. Remember how we said in cellular respiration that it releases carbon dioxide, and carbon dioxide is a waste product. And since it's a waste product, you don't want it to stay in your body, right? And the system that helps the body get rid of the carbon dioxide is, again, the respiratory system. Now, let's follow the path of oxygen through the respiratory system. When you breathe in, the air rich with oxygen is going to enter through your nose or your mouth, and then it will go to the pharynx, then the larynx, then to trachea, and then through the bronchi into left and right lung. Now let's start with the first organ of the respiratory system. So here we have the mouth and the nose. So air can go in through the nose or through the mouth. However, it's healthier to breathe in through your nose. Why is it healthier? We have more than one reason. The first reason is that if you look in the mirror, you can see that inside your nose you have blood vessels, and that's why sometimes you have nose bleeding. Now, these blood vessels are going to warm the air as it passes over them in the nose. And the other reason is that the nose contains hair and mucus, and these are going to help trap the dust and the dirt from the air so they cannot go further into your lungs. Now, the nose and actually most of the airway in the respiratory system, it has epithelial tissues, and these cells, the epithelial cells, they contain a very interesting structure called the cilia. Now, these cilia, they have a wave-like motion that prevent harmful particles from getting into your lungs. I want you to check this out. See, these are the cilia. Do you see how they move in this wave-like motion? And as they move, they're just going to swipe the dirt out away from the respiratory system so they cannot go further into your lungs. Now, from the nose, the air is going to go to the other organ, which is the pharynx, which is this area here. So it's a tube-like structure, and the pharynx actually receives the air coming from the nose, and also it receives the food and liquid coming from the mouth. And at this point, you may ask, well, doesn't that mean that the liquid and the food may go into my respiratory system, into my respiratory tract? And the answer is no. Why is it no? Because we have this structure, which is a flap of tissue called the epiglottis. The epiglottis is going to prevent the food from going into the respiratory system. I want you to check this out. Have a good look. See, so you are swallowing the food. Check what happens here. The epiglottis is closed, so now the food is going to go into the esophagus. It will not enter your respiratory system. See again? Okay, so the food is going to the esophagus. It will not enter your respiratory tract. Okay? Now, from the pharynx, the air is going to go into the larynx, which is this triangular shaped area right here. It's called the larynx, but it's also called the voice box. Now, why do you think it's called the voice box? Right, because it produces voice. Now, you know how when you play guitar, when you strike a string of a guitar, it starts to vibrate, and as it vibrates, it's going to produce sound. In the voice box or the larynx, we have two thick folds of tissues called the vocal cords. And as air passes over these vocal cords, they are going to vibrate, thus producing sound. From the larynx, the air is going to go into the trachea. Now, the trachea is held open by these C-shaped rings made of cartilage. As you know, cartilage is strong, yet it's flexible. So these rings are going to give support for the trachea, but at the same time, it will give flexibility for breathing. So we have the air is going to go through the trachea. See, these are the rings. and then from the trachea, it's going to go into two narrower tubes called the bronchi, and then from the bronchi, it's going to go into smaller branches called bronchulus, and then at the end of the bronchulus, it's going to reach a small microscopic structure called the alveoli. Now, have a look here. So this is the air passing through the trachea. From the trachea, it's going to go to the bronchi, then into smaller branches, the bronchulus, and these bronchulus are going to end with microscopic structure called the alveoli. Again, trachea, bronchi, bronchulus, and then in the lung, we have the alveoli. Now, the alveoli are actually the level at which gas exchange takes place. We're going to explain that later. Let's talk a little bit more about the alveoli here. So the alveoli are microscopic sacs. They are also called air sacs. And if you check the alveoli here, they are surrounded with capillaries. Capillaries are tiny blood vessels. So the air is going to enter the alveoli, and then the blood vessels, the capillaries, will have the blood, and the blood is going to take the oxygen from the alveoli. Now let's stop here for a minute. I want you to read these questions and try to answer them to see how much did you get from the lesson. I forgot to say that at the beginning of the session, but it's always a good idea to have your notebook next to you so that you can take notes. And if you have any questions, you can write them down so that you can ask your teachers for more clarification. So please answer these questions and go back to the PowerPoint or to the video to check if your answers are correct. Once you're done, proceed for the second part of the lesson.